Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're gonna do easy Psytrance pads using Faceblend as our synth, and it's gonna sound something like this. Here is the patch within Faceblend that we have. So we're gonna actually scrap this and then create something from scratch, and we'll just try to get as close as possible to this one. So when you open a Faceblend, you get a straight empty plate like this, and the basis of our sound is actually twofolds. The first part is creating analog oscillators. So 2 analog oscillators, and they're going to be solid oscillators. And when you first do open Faceblend, the first oscillator comes up with an output. If you do the second one, it doesn't come up with an output. So the signaling is this is gonna go out through this output, as you can see the arrow over here, and this is not going to do anything. So for them to be working simultaneously, you have to push this up here, because we only need one output out of these 2 oscillators. And basically, we're trying to make something wide in the stereo space. For that reason, we're going to bump up these unisons here. So I think I did 4 on the first one, and then I did 6 on the second one. And let's just hear how this sounds. All right, that's good. And so we can tweak these, spread and blend parameters and see how we can actually further affect the sound. I think I did something like this on this one. I think another thing I did was to switch the harmonic on the second one. And as I said initially, we had 2 folds. The first part was these 2 oscillators. The second one is a sampler track on Faceblend. Alright, the flute sample is actually right here under woodwinds. I think I used C4. So let's click on that. And as you can see, it puts it again under this output. You just have to bump it up right here. Let's just hear how this flute sample sounds by itself. Right, so I don't know if you could hear, but it's pretty deep, which means it's like in the low end. So maybe we can try second or third harmonic. Right, that's actually better for our liking right now. So the sampler in Faceblend works in this way. So if you see here, there's a range that we have on our sample. And whenever you start playing a note, it's gonna start at the beginning. But I don't want to start at the beginning. I want to start wherever my sample is. For that, if you can see this like little thing at the beginning, you can take that and then push it wherever you want your sample to start. And if you actually look at this offset, as I move that thing around, my offset is actually moving around too. So that's tied to the offset. And this is gonna be tied to length. Yeah, and the start is like wherever you want to start it, and then it's just gonna go over there. So this range is actually telling us the range that it's gonna start looping if you press your MIDI keys, longer than whatever this range is. For that matter, you have different looping options. We're gonna say infinite, and whenever the looping starts, we want it to be kind of like gradually fading in and out. For that, we can actually push this fade, X fade. So whenever it starts looping, it's going to be like a gradual fade within that range. And with that, if we're not going to get like weird chops. So let's see how these all sound together. Alright, so what I did is I changed the harmonic on my flute, because when I mixed them with the oscillators, I just liked it better. And of course, this is a pad sound, so one of the most characteristic things in the pad sound is that you have a long attack. So we can, make our attack longer, and of course, you have a long release time. So this will just give you, these like gradual ins and outs when you put them on your MIDI notes. All right, so that's pretty good. And so what we want to do is so we have a strong, sound foundation. We just want to spice this up a bit more and try to give it more space. I think the first thing I did was to create an ensemble right here. This ensemble basically spreads your sound. If you can see right here, you can do more voices. I think I did you can do up to 16 voices. And then you have different algorithms here that you can try out. I think I left it on symmetric or random. Right, so you can of course adjust that to taste. And I think the other thing I did was to create a distortion unit. So if you can get this right here, again, this is something that you're gonna have to do to your taste. Let's just play around with this. All right, so that sounds good for now. And the other thing I want to add to this is a Resonator by Faceplant. Resonator basically is actually amplifying those whatever you put over here is going to amplify the resonant frequencies within that range. So let's just hear how this sounds. So yeah, as you could hear over there, you can adjust this to taste. You got two options within this plugin. You can do like a square wave amplification with the Resonator, or like a saw wave. I like the saw wave for this specific tutorial. And then as you can see, you can change the mix and intensity and everything. And I think the last thing I did here was to add this reverb. And we do this within Faceplant, so we get to stay, within the synth, and which is like one of the greatest things about Faceplant. It saves you so much CPU usage. So let's just hear it with reverb and without the reverb. And the last thing, I think I put a filter, like a bandpass filter. With this, you can do sweeps, and so when I put the bandpass filter, I bump up the resonance right here, and then I put a macro on it. So we can do something like this, and then call this macro. And so let's just hear it and see how we can tweak this, automate or modulate it. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So as you can see, we can, do this like filter sweeps as we're making chords or, pads. It just gives you a lot more flexibility for your sound. And I just want to show you one last thing here. So when we're creating these, pad sounds, they tend to get really wide in the stereo space, and if you get too wide, like to the edges, you might have some, phasing issues. I have an analyzer here that I use, and I'll show you, what I mean. So look at this vector scope over here. As I play the notes, this vector scope, and you're also going to be able to see it on this nebula, how wide our sound gets with, the reverb effects, the ensembles, the unisons and everything. And also, so we're going to try to keep it on, over 0. So that means we won't have any phase issues. So let's just hear it and then just watch how this is going to be moving around this orange dot over here. All right, so you could see over there, we have something, under 200 hertz. So for that reason, we're going to basically chop that off, because we again want to leave that space for our kick and bass. And my rule of thumb is that I try not to leave anything under 200. So let's try to chop that off right here. And as far as, the wideness of our sound goes, as you could see over here, this orange dot never went below 0, which is good news for us. So we can leave it that. If that ever went below 0, then you would have to do some like side EQ. But for, in this tutorial, we don't really need to go through that. And if you had to, I can just show you over here, because I'm going to use this slice EQ by Faceplant. Again, we're staying inside the synth, which, it makes Faceplant such a powerful synth. And what I want to do is to get rid of these like 200 hertz area. So, this place belongs to kick and bass. And if it ever got, too bad as far as, if you had like phasing issues, the way you would go about this, I think, would be to create like a shelf, and then again within Faceplant you can make this like a side EQ with these options. So this is the stereo, this is your mids, this option is your sides, but we don't need to do that, so I'm gonna close it right now. That's about it. There goes our easy Faceplant pad sound design. And let's just copy these notes right here and see how they sound with our song, and see how close we got to our original one. And I just wanted to show you one last thing, guys. There is a trick in Cubase 11. I think that gives you a really good flexibility of which notes to put for these progressions, but I apologize because I still haven't upgraded, and I work on Cubase 10.5, and you do have a transpose trick for this thing, but honestly I tried it and it did not work out as planned because of, I think, how much of unison we have, you know, in our sound design, and how much of ensembles and like the resonator that we use. It didn't work like as I thought it would have, so I'm just gonna skip right through it. But one simple thing that I wanted to give you as a tip maybe would be to consider the first, third, fifth, and seventh notes within your scale to create these, you know, like pad atmospheric textures as a backbone in your song. And since I'm creating my song in G sharp minor, this is my first note, this is my third, this is my seventh, and this is my fifth. So you can, you know, mix and match these however you want. But yeah, I just wanted to tell that to you as well, because I really try to make this work with the transpose to scale option in Cubase, but it really doesn't sound like as I thought it would have. So yeah, quick update on that one. And that's about it for this week's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.